Nariman Behravesh, you're chief economist at IHS Markit. We are here at the WEF in Davos, and Donald Trump will be one of the major topics. So there's certainly discussions about the Trump and the world economy. How big is the risk Donald Trump for the world economy?
Well, ironically, it all depends on which kind of populism he practices. If he practices what I call pro-growth populism, it'll be good for the global economy. U.S. will grow and the rest of the world will grow. If he practices predominantly protectionist populism, that could be very bad for the global economy. So the question is, which way is the Trump administration going to go? I think our view is between the administration and Congress that we'll actually get more pro-growth policies than protectionist policies, despite what was said in the campaigns.
There's a lot of talk about import tariffs that Donald Trump will impose. So that might trigger counter-reactions of other countries such as China, which will probably lead to trade wars. How big is the probability of such trade wars?
I think the probability of a trade war along those lines is quite low, because I think the Trump people certainly understand that the retaliation could do a lot of damage to the U.S. economy. I think there may be more subtle forms of protectionism. For example, we've already seen some of this in the sense of twisting the arms of some companies not to take production overseas. So we may see more of that, and I doubt very much we'll see overt protectionism in the way of a true trade war.
One of the major developments will be, and one of the most important developments will be the relationship to China. How will that develop, in your opinion?
Well, I think that is a very complicated question, because it's not just economics, there's also politics. The question, of course, of the one China, two China policy. There's questions about the islands that China has built in the South China Sea. So it's a combination of economics and politics. And I think Mr. Trump, his style at least, is to kind of shake things up and then hope that the deal that's done eventually will be beneficial to the U.S.
So you can call it a provocation?
Yes, absolutely. No, there's no debate that, and I think consciously, there's no debate that it's been very provocative. Everything that's been said so far, there are no policies yet, but everything that's been said so far has been quite provocative.
So maybe in a couple of years we could say Trump wasn't that bad as expected.
I think there may be an element of that. I think everything that we've seen suggests that he comes on kind of strong in terms of what he says, but in terms of what he actually does, it's not as bad. If you look at his business record, it's, you know, he's a businessman. He's a pragmatic businessman. So I suspect we'll see a fair amount of pragmatism. On the other hand, he clearly has strong views about some things, and he made promises in the campaign. So one way or another, they're going to try to keep those promises, not so much in terms of specific policies, but to be able to say 2-4 years from now that, look at all these jobs we created, look at all these jobs we saved. They want to be able to say that.
So there's market expectation that the dollar will further rise this year, along with, you know, the hikes of interest rates in the U.S. Do you agree with that?
I think interest rates will go up in the U.S. and the dollar will also go up, for the very simple reason that the U.S. will be growing faster. Already the market interest rates have risen, which has then pushed up the dollar. But the U.S. looks fairly, I mean, assuming again it's just pro-growth kind of populism, shall we say, there's not a lot of protectionism, the U.S. will look a lot better in terms of economic growth than a lot of other countries. So we would expect to see the dollar rise further against the euro, further against the yen, and also against the Chinese renminbi. I mean, renminbi has come under intense downward pressure in the last couple of months, so that's likely to continue.
The capital flight out of China is also an important topic. Do you think that will remain at the current level, or will that increase?
I think there's a lot of pressures on the Chinese currency, some of them coming from the U.S. and higher interest rates in the U.S., but some because of stresses within China's own economy. A lot of domestic Chinese investors want to put their money overseas because they're very worried about the Chinese economy. So I don't see that pressure becoming any less in the next 6 to 12 months.
Last question, it concerns the stock markets. There's a lot of optimism after a Trump election that you know, the markets have risen. Do you think that maybe there will be a disappointment of that during the year?
Well, that is the big question, and already we've seen the stock markets that have come down a little bit. I think markets did get carried away, but you can sort of understand that. For example, we're going to get more growth probably in the U.S. We'll have a much more business-friendly administration, lower taxes, so it means after-tax profits will be higher in the U.S., and hopefully we'll get less regulation or more deregulation. So all of this is viewed very favorably. Now, has it been overdone, the optimism? Probably.
Mr. Behravesh, thank you very much.